A senior Obama administration official says U.S. and Russian negotiators are coming closer to agreement on the scope of Syrian chemical weapons stockpiles. That's central to identifying and containing those munitions, since Russian estimates are lower than the roughly 1,000 metric tons of chemical weapons that the United States believes are in Syria. Secretary Kerry says talks here have been constructive and have included some of the homework that he and Foreign Minister Lavrov need to do to get Syria's warring factions to a conference on a transitional government.
We've both agreed to do that homework and meet again in New York around the time of the UN General Assembly, around the 28th, in order to see if it is possible then to find a date for that conference, much of which will obviously depend on the capacity to have success here in the next day, hours, days, on the subject of the chemical weapons.
Kerry and Lavrov met with the UN Special Representative for Syria, Lakhdar Brahimi, who's trying to organize a conference known as Geneva II.
It is extremely important in itself and for itself, but it is also extremely important for us who are working with you on trying to bring together the Geneva II conference successfully.
Talks to end the fighting have been repeatedly delayed by confusion within the Syrian opposition and by disagreement over what other nations might take part. Russia believes Iran should join those talks. Washington objects because Iranian forces are advising and supplying Syrian troops. At a regional forum in Kyrgyzstan, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said everyone who can should help bring peace to Syria.
The human tragedy in Syria can only be resolved through political means with dialogue between the Syrian government and the Syrian groups opposed to it, without the specter of foreign military intervention. All parties who can exert influence, like Iran, should make efforts to help ensure that such constructive dialogue can take place.
President Rouhani says Russia's push to eliminate Syrian chemical weapons is a first step toward reaching a political transition. In an interview with Russian television, President Bashar al-Assad said only Moscow has the legitimacy to bring Syria's warring factions together.
The most important role in this process belongs to the Russian state. We don't have trust in the U.S., and we don't have contact with it. Russia is the only country that can fulfill this role now.
But Assad opponents say Moscow's backing of Damascus helps Mr. Assad continue the fight. Khalid Saleh of the Syrian National Coalition.
If Russia is really interested about finding a real political solution, they must halt all weapon shipments that they are sending to the Assad regime on a weekly basis. Those weapons are being used to kill Syrians.
In Geneva, U.S. and Russian officials are working with the UN Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons to identify and sequester Syrian chemical munitions as quickly as practical. Scott Stearns, VOA News, Geneva.